is Primus Tracks with Josh, Frankie, and Sawyer.
What a couple of dumb shits.
Hello, Primates! You found Primus Tracks. Congratulations! Oh, and congratulations to you today, because we have quite a lineup for today's track. I gotta bring him in. We have to get started right away. No messing around. Kick ass or nothing, in the words of one of the people that's on this episode today. Of course, I am Josh. PrimusTracksPod@gmail.com's email address. Add Primus Tracks on Instagram and Twitter and all that good stuff. I gotta bring in my pal. He has 2 coins. One of them is on a nickel. It's Frankie.
Hi, Josh.
And we also have to bring in our old pal. He has many keys, but he can't open a single door. It's Tim Sawyer.
Guys, here I am again. You keep dragging me into this shit. What the hell?
Wow.
I
love it.
He loves his sausage. And I'm so happy to bring a couple of worlds together as we talk about Riddles or Abound tonight, title track of that sausage record today. He can't operate on you. You're his son. It's Luke Beamond.
What's up, fellas? Great to be back. Bass Summit, baby.
Holy moly. You brought the heavyweights, Josh.
Here we go. We got Luke Beamond, and as if that weren't enough, because we really need to blow it out, we're bringing back another pal of ours. He can cross a river with a fox, a sheep, and some hay, and nobody gets eaten. It's Kello Gonzalez.
How do you know I could do that?
I'm projecting, but it's great to have you all here. And as you can tell from that brilliant intro, that should clue you in. Today's track, we're talking about Riddles. Riddles are Abound tonight. The title track of the 1994 Sausage record.
Hold on a second. I want to let the listeners know I've not met Kello yet, but he's got a bass that looks just like Les's, and I've heard him warming up. We're in for a treat tonight. We already know what Luke can do. He plays Primus live with his killer band, but man, I'm waiting for this. You guys get ready.
Let's go.
Hi, Luke.
What's up, Frankie? Great to see you guys again. Great to be back, boys.
Hi, Kello. Buenas noches.
Hola, Frankie.
Oh, yes, and we will be doing the bilingual version of this afterwards, so be ready, everybody.
Nice.
So, just for those wonderful intros, I just picked 4 riddles, the only 4 riddles I remember. So, yeah, I liked yours because it's what has many keys but can't open a single door. The answer is a piano, but it also works for a drum tech.
I can tune a piano, but I can't tune a fish. It's weird. So dumb. All right, moving on.
Now that's staying in. I loved it. Riddles are Abound tonight. Track number 2 from the album of the same name by the band Sausage. Once again, for those of you just joining us, that's Les Claypool, Todd Huth, Jay Lane. That was the lineup of Primus that really gained some steam in the late 80s before the abrupt change in 1989 that brought in Larry Lalonde and Tim Herb Alexander. Setting aside that glaring grammatical error, abound is a verb, Les uses it as an adjective in that syntax. Don't worry about it because we have a nearly perfect track here.
Yes, and he did say, I will quote him,
Yep.
He said, "That's my horrible grammar, but it would have messed up the rhythmic flow if he had said it otherwise."
Right? We'll take it as artistic license, which you can do with words all the time. Poets, writers, lyricists.
Before we jump into the track, Josh, just some quick miscellaneous debris to get it out of the way. How amazing is it that Les did a surprise appearance at the Residents show last week?
The Residents' 50th anniversary show, correct?
Correct me if I'm wrong, because some people are, I think I agree with the people that say it very well could be the first time Les is on stage without an instrument in his hands.
I'm going to have to throw that to Sawyer. Can you ever think of a time Les was on stage without an instrument in his hand performing?
I can think of one. I wasn't there, but I know it happened. When they did the Public Enemy Anthrax Primus tour, the very last show, I think Anthrax headlined that, didn't they? Weren't they the last band on?
I think usually, yeah.
There's actually video of it that I remember seeing where they played the gag at the end of the night, Anthrax's last song, and Public Enemy and Primus all come on stage and do something stupid. And Les came on stage with a push broom and pretended to sweep the stage with a push broom.
That's pretty good.
That might be the only time that I can think of offhand, like on the spot, on the moment.
Didn't he also put on the chicken suit and go on stage during Lollapalooza when Alice in Chains was playing the Rooster song?
Might have, but I wasn't there for that.
Okay.
I didn't see any of those shows.
So there's a couple, but he was actually performing Hello Skinny, doing the vocals, and I
Ah.
think he didn't really know what to do with his arms because they were all over the place, and then his hands were in his pockets. It definitely changes the dynamic, I think, when you're on stage and you're
I
used to
mean, the
holding
guy
this
is
thing.
like came out of the womb with the Carl Thompson in his hands. It's rough to get away from that, when you're in front of people.
There's footage on YouTube. I posted a still from the YouTube video by Rock the Mullet. He's a good guy, so go check out that video. Pretty great performance of Hello Skinny with the Residents, less on vocals. I just saw today somebody sent me a link. I think it's within a few days here. Les is going to be at the San Francisco Sketch Fest and doing something with Fred Armisen.
Oh, cool.
Thanks for that miscellaneous debris, Frankie. It is pretty cool, and it must have been a dream come true for Les, too. Soya, you've got some miscellaneous debris.
I have a couple things. Number one, the last episode we recorded, Blas, the bass player, performed incredibly Prelude to Fear.
Yeah.
Luke, looking at you. Where's Luke? Luke disappeared. Where's Luke?
We'll get him back.
Run away.
You couldn't take it.
Oh, man. Blas took the trophy for being able to play Tommy the Cat on the bass. I think I listened to it again today just to be sure, and I said, oh, that's as close as Josh Moreau from Katy Perry. But man, I listened again. He nailed it, dude. That
Wow.
dude is the king at Tommy the Cat.
Blas Perez, Tommy the Cat champion. Well, we're looking at a
Amazing.
challenger today, too. We've got Kello here, and he hasn't played Tommy the Cat for you yet, Soya, so we'll take care
I know.
of that at some
Hey,
point.
I'm always open to hear everybody's interpretations or attempts, but Blas really blew my mind, man. And listening back again, wow, it was really good, man. It was it. He nailed it, man.
Props to you, Blas. Well, we are
And
here
then the other bit of debris I have is a really good friend of the Claypool family and a friend that I knew, Chris Robertson, passed away. And the reason I bring it up because he was the inspiration for the song Up on the Roof, which is a Claypool song.
Yes.
And the dude was this incredible, funny dude that Les introduced me to at his house. I did some construction work around Les's house with him. I went golfing with this dude and he played golf in flip flops and was like, what? He's like, fuck it, man. It's all good. Woo, shot killer, beat the shit out of me. But anyway, I just want to give homage to that dude. He's been a really good friend of Les's and the Claypool family and a friend of mine. And he passed away today or yesterday. Chris Robertson. Rest in peace, brother. Primus loves you, man.
Chris Robertson.
Wow, the story of Up on the Roof was he's a contractor dude as well, and he had a bunch of has property in Costa Rica, very fluent in Spanish, and would always hire Mexican helpers and stuff, and he'd have these dudes on his crew, and he had this one house he was building, and these dudes were up on the roof trying to do the roofing and get the roofing done, and dude would keep having to go. Chris would have to go do something, come back, and they'd always be down off the roof and eat lunch or talking on the phone or whatever the hell they were doing. So he said, all right, boy, amigos, up on the roof. And he got up and he took the ladder away so they couldn't get back down and left the site, for 3 hours to make them stay up on the roof for 3 hours and continue working without having an opportunity or a way to get back down. And that's what that song was about. And it was inspired by Chris Robertson.
Wow. It sounds like a bunch of sixth graders, unless you're supervising them.
Well, you got cheap help. You can't expect expensive help,
That's for sure. Thank you for that, Soya. Luke texted me. He said, "Oh, lightning just wiped out my internet. He's working on it. We'll get him back."
He knew I was going to bring up Tommy the Cat and Blas. He heard the episode,
he
so
split.
he bailed out.
Forget about it.
He's looking for his sunglasses, I think.
Kello, I want to start with you. Frankie and Soya and myself got to speak about our relationship with the Sausage Record last episode. Now, of course, you're a huge Primus Les Claypool fan. Where is Sausage for you? What does it bring to mind when you listen to that record?
It takes me back right at the time when I started to get familiar with Claypool's work, because it was 94, I would say 93, 94, that I really got into Primus. And I remember that one, and I know we talked about this, right? But I got Frizzle Fry, I got Suck on This, and then Sailing the Seas of Cheese, and so I was hooked into that. And later on, I don't even remember how I got my hands on the Sausage record.
Yeah.
Right. Frankie was saying, which is your favorite song from the record? I'm like, definitely Riddles, because I mean, the album is a tricky album. Even for Primus aficionados, it's not your regular album, right?
Uh-huh.
But Riddles, right away, it blew me away, right? And it was obviously mainly the riff in the song, because it's one riff. The song is one riff, right?
Uh-huh.
As most memorable Claypool songs, right? I know we were talking about this, but I remember trying to learn the song. It's one of those songs that I keep in high regard. I left it at that. I never try to relearn it or play it again, just because out of respect of the song.
Yeah.
I think this is how it goes, but I don't think I'm doing it justice, and I'll leave it at that because I don't want to mess it up. It wasn't until now that you told me, you know what, let's go and do this, and I'm like, I better now learn it right. And I learned a lot of details about the song as I was doing that, which I found peculiar. One of those, and I don't know if you knew this, but that album was recorded using a jazz bass, not the Carl Thompsons.
Correct. Yes.
I mean, and I have my jazz bass waiting there. I just thought I'd start with this, but even playing the riff, I started playing it here, and I got the jazz bass, and I thought, it makes sense why he played it on the jazz bass.
Oh, really? Can you give us a little detail on that? Because as not a bass player, I know that different instruments have different feels, but what made sense to you in that moment?
It flows differently. You play it and it flows differently. But other than that, I think what probably Les wanted to do when doing Sausage, coming from Primus and going back to their former bandmates, I think he was looking for a different feel. He's obviously a Geddy Lee fan,
Nice.
I think the jazz bass was he probably just wrapped it and started playing it, and it's like, I think this is it. It just sounds, you play it on the jazz bass and you hear it right away, right? That's where it came from. I think he forced himself out of the comfort zone that he was in Primus, per se. I know it's not very comfortable. He definitely opened up a little bit his vocabulary in regards to the licks, what he was playing, how he was playing them. And I remember a quote that I think is the best quote I've heard from Les. And I'll take it to the grave, because I live by that, right? And because, Les has a trillion side projects,
right?
Or just projects. I don't think there's side projects for him. And someone asked him, how do you manage to sound different on each band you play with, right? And what he said made total sense. He said, listen, you don't talk the same way to your girlfriend than how you do to your grandmother, to your mom, to your colleague, to this other friend. The same happens when you're in a band.
Okay, yeah.
But so the way I interact with this player and this other player is different, right? It's a language, right?
Right.
The way you're talking and reacting to the different riffs, different rhythms, different approaches is what makes each of the different projects sound different. And even as a musician, you approach it in a different way, even though it's the same player.
And these were guys he'd played with for quite some time, and then coming back to them, it must have been like re-striking up that conversation. Hopefully, they picked up right where they left off. Because
I think they did, but in reality, if they had not tried to stretch it out, it would have been Frizzle Fry too, right? Mm-hmm. But they didn't, right? They took it a step further, if you ask me. Right? Like a refried Frizzle Fry, It sounds like another thing. And again, going back to why he used a jazz bass, I think that's probably why he did it.
It's not refried anything. It's freshly ground sausage. I agree.
Yeah. And I think he wanted he wanted to rekindle the conversation with his old friends, right?
Yeah.
And using the same bass he used with Primus may have seemed like forcing it, and may have been harder for him to try and probably back then, right?
Yeah.
To try and not talk the Primus vocabulary with them.
Oh,
right?
Great point. Frankie, your hand is politely raised.
He's stopping me.
Oh. But I think
Fantastic insight from Kello, and I want to add two things based on what Kello said. First of all, we have discussed several times how, as the Primus discography went on, Les kept going back in time to look for songs he had written a long time ago to put them on the records, right? This happened with Pressman. This happened with Heckler. It happened with You Like It. We know that Tommy the Cat was a very old song, but he was waiting for the right album for it to be on. And in the case of Riddles and Prelude to Fear and many of these tracks, Les said that when it came time to dust off those tunes, he felt that Primus was not the right band. So he wanted Todd and Jay to perform these songs. But it's really interesting because, like Kello said, Les has a ton of side projects. And I guess people would think about Sausage as one more side project. But we have to remember that all of these songs were actually performed by Primus at some point. Riddles Are Abound Tonight goes back all the way to the late 80s, you know.
Oh, yeah.
There are 1987 shows that feature Riddles Are Abound Tonight on the set list. So it was a Primus song in its own merit. However, I have a very interesting quote from Les that I want to share with you. During an interview in 1994 to promote the Riddles album, the journalist asked, "What do you feel is the main difference between Sausage and Primus?" And Jay said, "Well, Sausage is not as heavy metalish. It's totally different if you ask me. It's not just that Todd and I are playing guitar and drums instead of Herb and Lair. It's that Les plays differently with Sausage than he does with Primus." And then Todd said, "I think they're exactly the same. No difference whatsoever." And then Les said, "The bottom line is that people that aren't into Primus are going to listen to the Sausage record. They're going to hear my voice, my bass playing. They will see three guys on stage and they will go, 'What's the difference?' But people who are into Primus are going to notice the difference right away."
I definitely did. Yeah.
Yep.
Man.
And I think they hit that right on the head there.
I mean, if you're a Primus fan from 1991 on, Sausage is a whole new sound, you know? Mm-hmm. If you were into Primus in the 87, 88, like I was at the beginning, and you revisit that when they put it out, you're like, oh, shit. That's like, finally, these old songs sound great. They're not just you're hearing them at a nightclub, you know? There was demos. Frankie, you have them all. I don't, you know, but... You know, I never heard all those old demos. You know, we talked about that last episode.
Yeah.
It was refreshing to hear those old songs that I'd never heard recorded before, you know? And to me, it sounded the same. Like Todd said, it's the same dudes playing the same shit, man.
So maybe that's what, because I kind of laughed at that line. I think they're exactly the same. You know, Todd saying that. I thought he was being facetious, but maybe in some way he meant it's exactly the same as it was in 1987. So maybe
I think he was probably pertaining to Les, you know, like what Les plays. Les did not go, oh, I'm going to go back and play like I used to play in the old days. And I used to play like this. Like he still plays the exact same styles, you know, through everything.
Yeah.
If you ask me.
Agreed.
Obviously, when Tim and Lur came in, the foundation of the thumping and the beat and the guitar are different, you know, with Tim and Lur. You know?
Yeah. The vocabulary changed a little bit, but the outcome, you know, it's the same language, I suppose.
Yeah. Les doesn't play Tommy the Cat different with Lur and Tim as he did with Todd and Jay or previous drummers, right?
Yeah. So, Frankie, you're going to have live history. Can you tell us about the music video briefly, too?
All right, let's begin with live history. As I mentioned, the song goes all the way back to the late 80s. We know that it was recorded as a demo. There are snippets out there. You can definitely hear Riddles in there, but at the same time, it's kind of different, right? Because it has like this Talking Heads quality that Primus had at the time. Very similar to their versions of 11, Is It Luck, Sgt. Baker. It has that kind of cadence. The track, as we know it, in its most popular configuration, was recorded for the Riddles Are Abound Tonight album, and it was performed heavily, of course, during the 1994 month-long tour. After that, it came back in 2000 with the Frog Brigade. And this is really interesting because at that point, it became kind of a Les Claypool staple, like a signature song, because the Frog Brigade would just take it places. Riddles became a jam vehicle.
I knew you were going to say it. I knew it.
There are some truly interesting performances out there. We're going to get into that later on in this episode. So it was performed a ton by the Frog Brigade, and then it was inherited by the Fancy Band, and then it was passed on to the Fungi Band. It was also performed once by the Mysterious Rat Brigade, and then it had its triumphant return with Sausage after decades. So It has been performed by Sausage in 2019, in 2021, and it also made a brief appearance last year at the Hopmonk Tavern with this interesting configuration of Les Claypool, Sean Lennon, Jay Lane, and Jonathan Corti.
Oh, there was a tease. That's right.
There was a tease, yeah. I mean, it has also been teased by Do the Twank. It's kind of a song that is always there at Les Claypool shows.
Frankie, how about that music video? That one, you actually made quite a religious pilgrimage to the site of the video. Tell us about that.
Well, the music video is fantastic. It's very whimsical. It's very clever. The way that, that the band is dressed up is just so memorable. If you watch that video, I mean, it just burns into your memory forever. I guess that what they were going for is some kind of anglerfish look, right?
Yeah, with the lights dangling over like a deep sea angler, yes.
And if you've read Electric Grapevine, you know that there was actually an incident during the recording of the video. Mm-hmm. Les attributes that to some Masonic spirits being pissed off that they were using their space for a music video. But it's also notable because Cheney is in the video. Mm-hmm. She's at the bottom of the tower.
That's right.
What Josh is referring to is that while I was in Oakland for the Silver Anniversary Extravaganza, I was flipping through the Electric Grapevine book, and I realized that I was just a few minutes away from the location where it had been recorded. It's the Scottish Rite Temple in Lake Merritt in Oakland. That day, there was very heavy rain, so I had to stay indoors. But the next day, first thing in the morning, I went to Lake Merritt. I entered the temple, and an employee stopped me at the entrance, and he asked what I wanted. And I said, well, I was completely honest. No, I said, one of my favorite musicians of all time recorded a video here, and I would just love to be able to see the place with my own eyes. And he was like, who was it? And I was not going to say Sausage because he would have no clue. So I said, Les Claypool, Primus. He was like, oh my God, Primus recorded a video here? And I said, yeah. I described the place to him, and he said, okay, I know the place you're talking about. So we went into the elevator, and he took me to the hall, it's like an auditorium where they recorded the video, and they were kind enough to turn on the lights for me. So it was just a spectacle. It was really incredible to be standing there, where this video was recorded. It was an otherworldly sensation. Yeah. And I took a ton of photos. So every time I see the video, I just remember, wow, I was there.
Then they opened some side closet, right? And you saw all the scaffolding that they used to make the structure, yes. And those goofy blue outfits were there, spandex. That's really cool. The music video is also notable because it featured in Beavis and Butthead, which I think was quite a promotional boost for the record, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And I know I'm going to say it wrong. What's the term that Beavis and Butthead got from it? I don't remember. One of you guys knows it.
I just refer to it as the Great Cornholio. It's much easier, right?
Right. So that's where the Great Cornholio came from. It was inspired by the sausage video. And I will tell you what, I didn't get to watch Beavis and Butthead when I was a young man because we didn't have cable in my house, one. And two, my dad heard about it through, the grapevine. He said, "You're never watching that show." So I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't know what it was. That was the quote, though. So when that show became popular, everybody was doing the TP for my bunghole thing, and I had no idea what they were talking about. Turns out, years later, I found out, one of my favorite musicians was the inspiration for that. Wonderful. The seminiferous tubuloidal buttnoids. That terminology comes right from the sausage video.
And if you purchase the Jay Blakesberg fantastic book of photographs about Primus and Les Claypool, you will see some pretty cool shots of the recording of the music video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some cool candid ones of them in costume, just hanging around, some really cool fisheye lenses. I'm sure Jay still has a few copies
and you
of
also
that.
got a making of in the 5 Gallons of Diesel DVD.
Oh, that's right. I have to.
And you guys know what Chaney's role was in the video, right?
Yeah, she was like a princess speaking through sign language.
She's Marie Antoinette.
Oh, Marie
Exactly.
Antoinette. Very good.
And she's speaking in sign language. She's dictating the lyrics of the song in sign language.
She looks fantastic.
Because Chaney knows 3 languages in sign language.
What? I didn't know that.
Yes.
Holy
There you go.
Incredible woman.
Wow.
Did you know that, Frankie?
I wasn't aware that she spoke 3 languages through sign language. That is mind-blowing.
Right on. I know something Frankie doesn't about Chaney.
Frankie's going to try to figure out which 3 they are so he can greet Chaney with the signs. Did I get it? Did I do it right? I think we've come to the time. Now, I know listeners are thinking, where's Luke? He hasn't said anything for a long time. He's been muted this entire time. No, he actually lost his connection. His power went out. There's a lightning storm, and he's trying to get his internet connection back. So he is continuously...
He's actually rehearsing the song.
He's practicing furiously because he wants to impress KO.
Text him and tell him to take off his sunglasses. He'll be able to find things easier in the dark.
I think his internet's out. That's what he's telling me. KO, I really wanted to just sit back and let you and Luke talk bass on this one, but I guess you have to put up with us. So let's talk about this track.
Okay.
And KO, take it away. This one, of course, starts with the bass, and it's, the foundation for everything. Please enlighten us.
It's a very Claypool-ish riff. And again, it's a song that main riff is what drives the whole song, right? As in most Les compositions, everything derives from that one riff, right? I mean, even the intro, right? That one piece. I mean, that's basically how it starts. It gives away where he's going to take us. He's actually teasing us with the doodle. When I remember when I learned the riff, right, and I mentioned this, I learned it wrong. It wasn't until now that I have my ear more trained to hear less nuances when he plays, that I learned that it's more complicated than I thought it was, right? Because when I learned it back then, I was just playing it like. There's really more to it than that, and the actual riff and the way he plays it, and I noticed that he plays it differently in different live sessions, and he basically changes, and I'll tell you what he changes, but the way it goes is. The trick is that pull off thing he does. So the pull off and the hammer, right? That's the trick. What I noticed, and I had learned it wrong, I noticed that sometimes he plays it. So he does but in other instances, he just stays on the G. which is much simpler and easier.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to do some research. If you look at the music video, they don't really focus that much on what he's playing.
Right.
And I think it's on purpose, right? But
Keep those secrets.
it would appear he's actually doing that. So he's going
Right. That sounds more correct, actually.
Right.
But I do understand what you're saying about the lazy
It's
the lazy version of it to keep going and keep going. Yeah.
because I was looking at the different live version. I saw some that he was just. It's much simpler.
Lazy.
And I know he's. I mean, from late, he's going more for the economy of motion. So I would see why he would like to just keep it there, and most people won't notice, right?
Yeah.
And the burst, I mean, he does a lot of the like thumb muting, like he does on the tweakers.
Yeah.
He goes.
Yeah.
But I also noticed that he changes it a little bit sometimes, and he does some sort of like.
Yeah.
But on the album, I think he just keeps it simple.
Yeah. So he's playing those root notes and then pulling off a bit and just plucking or tapping them, not tapping, but picking the muted string.
Going back
Yeah.
to how I think he got the main riff, and he derived the rest from there is the same. See, these are the I guess the foundation of the song, right? These notes here. And he does a lot of variations, right? I mean, and the things and the fills and the things he does in between the riff, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And those are the riffs, right? And it's if you look at the riff and you try to play it, it's not an easy riff.
No, it looks really tough.
You are ripping it, dude.
Let
But,
me change the bass because I want you to hear the difference, right?
You played a Carl the first run through there.
It's a Carl Thompson. Now I have a jazz. It's actually a late 70s jazz bass, which I think that's what he also uses. And this one also has EMG pickups. So it'll be similar to what he has. Right?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I can hear it. Sounds correct.
Can you hear the nuances?
Yeah, totally. The difference mainly, other than pickups, would be the neck and the shape of the neck and how you can get around the neck, right? To the frets.
Right. And the thing is, and I think Les has said this before, which is on a Carl Thompson bass, you need to work around the bass. But here it kind of flows differently, right? In this bass. And there's a growl, different growl.
Yeah.
I wanted you to see the nuances, right? And I know you're going through the whole now Claypool discography, but an interesting thing on the Eyeball in the Sky album is that he purposely recorded almost every song with a different bass,
Including that jazz bass?
not this, but but I'm pretty sure he used his jazz bass.
If you look at wild looping photographs from the Bucket of Burn Your Brains 2004 live dates, you will see a lot of really strange basses that he never used again in any other shows.
Ah, okay. But his jazz bass probably made an appearance, and when you play the line, on those two basses back to back, what struck me is when you're thumping with that thumb on the jazz bass, it really pops out. It's much more it's much sharper, I think.
Could be, but the thing is, the jazz bass would have a more of a growl than the Carl Thompson. The Carl Thompson sounds more. It's more finesse, right? It's cleaner. This one is more rock and roll.
It definitely sounds that way. And then for you to play it on the jazz bass after playing it on the Carl, as Soya mentioned, does it feel easier to play on that jazz bass?
It does, strangely.
Yeah, but all the Carl Thompson necks are unique, whereas the jazz bass was a machined neck that's exactly the same pretty much on every one of them, unless it was a custom deal.
Correct.
Whereas Les's 4-string Carl Thompson, the original 4-string, he got at a pawn shop, it wasn't made for him to resemble what a jazz bass neck is like. He just bought it used somewhere,
Right.
But later on, Carl was making him basses I want it more like a jazz bass, or, make it more like this, where he was able to do that,
And even then, I don't remember the exact date it happened, but you probably recall that his main bass got the neck broken at a rehearsal, I think.
Oh, yeah. I know the whole story. I was almost there. I wasn't there that day, but I know that story. Yes, of course.
So even that bass has a new neck, or
No.
So what's the story on that then?
Tim Alexander, at his second ever as You Got the Gig rehearsal with the band, came around the drum set and knocked over Les's bass, and the headstock broke.
Headstock, yes.
So because Les didn't have any money, and nobody had any money then, they were just a club band. Les's buddies that were in construction with him, he took it to one of his bros, and they put some construction glue and clamped it and got it to hold, and he played it like that for years. Once Primus got to the Seize the Cheese moment, and then they got to Pork Soda, Les finally said, you know what, I got to get this bass fixed by Carl, because he never wanted to have it redone. So he sent the bass to Carl when they were done with a tour phase, and they had some months off. And what they did is they cut the headstock off, routed out a chunk off the around the nut area, and regrafted in a new headstock. So the neck is exactly the same neck. It just the headstock was grafted in new and re-glued in, is what that was. And when they were on the Rush tour, Roll the Bones, 92, Les being the huge Geddy Lee fan, he had Geddy Lee sign the headstock of that Carl Thompson bass before it got repaired, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the first leg of the Rush tour, he had Geddy sign the headstock, and he wrote, "Hey Les, Geddy Lee," and he signed it.
Yeah.
When they sent the bass in to get it fixed and the headstock repaired correctly, the Carl Thompson dudes got the neck off, and they
Caught it
out the section where the signature was, and sliced it, right? And it was like a piece of wood with the signature on it. And the new headstock, they routed out and they inlaid the Geddy Lee signature piece from the original headstock into the new headstock.
So that's what it is then. Okay.
Wow.
One time I was digging through Les's shit and his stuff in the 90s, and I found the old broken headstock, and it was scrolled out. There was a cutout where they sliced a slice off the headstock, and they had the pieces all sitting there where it was missing,
And do you still have that? Is that still laying around?
Yeah, it's somewhere in a box. Yeah, we have it. I remember the first time I saw Les came out with the bass again, with the 4-string, and it was the new headstock, and I did not know the story yet, and it looked like he colored Sharpie around that, because they did like a walnut face on the new headstock, and they put the maple headstock inlay with Geddy Lee's signature on it into it, and it looked really weird to me, and I had no idea. Wait, what? Did he take a Sharpie and like blacken out just to highlight the signature? What the fuck is that? Until I, asked Les, he's like, "Oh, dude, this is what happened, man. Those fuckers did this, man. This is amazing." I was like, "Wow, that's fucking rad, dude."
They did some delicate surgery for him.
Yeah. So that's the story of the headstock with the Geddy Lee signature on it. And it's still on the signature piece. It's still on the 4-string now, which is retired from live. It just sits in a studio at his house now at Rancho Relaxo.
As it should.
Yeah, he might play it in recordings and stuff, but it does not go on the road anymore.
Yeah.
It's too heavy. Hurts his shoulder.
Yeah. Wow.
Now we know the real story.
And I think, Soya, you pointed to this last week, that the way that this record was made is Jay and Les went into Les's house in Berkeley, the Corn.
Yep,
and
the Corn.
They laid it down. Todd came in later. And I know you pointed to this last week, but just when you play this first part of the track where they screw it up, that tells me first of all, which is great. Yeah.
Kello, do you know that that's Woody Woodpecker, right? That's where this all derived from?
Yes.
The American cartoon?
Yes.
Okay. So, Josh, to go to the end of the song, when it ends, you can hear Jay and Les interacting again. Do you hear that?
Yeah, it's really faint, but it's there.
So it ends and Jay goes, "Ah, man." And Les goes, "Ah, wasn't that bad, man?"
Yeah.
Because Jay thought he fucked it all up.
Yeah.
Because he thought he played that take shitty, and it's fucking amazing. And Les is like, "Wasn't that bad, man? It's all good." Keeper.
Just wants to get it done. But it's funny. What I love is that I want to come back to that Woody Woodpecker thing because I never made that connection, and I'm kicking myself.
You hadn't?
No, I never did, but it totally...
That's crazy, Josh.
I know, what? Yeah. How did I never do that? How did I never put that together? Unbelievable.
Because you're too smart, dude. It's for dummies.
That's not it.
Sit around and watch cartoons and eat Captain Crunch all day.
I can't freaking believe I never put that together. I should be wearing a dunce cap right now.
Frankie, did you know that?
Yeah. Actually, my parents pointed that out the first time they heard the song.
Josh,
I put the CD on and they were like...
down right now, Josh. Frankie's parents knew it before you did.
I never did.
But for us, it was Pájaro Loco, you know?
Oh, yes. You're right.
Amazing.
That is something else. So I'm learning all kinds of stuff today. Wow, I got to write that down. That Woody Woodpecker thing is killing me. But as soon as you said that, I like, no way. Oh, of course.
But it's cool that Kello, you showed us how it came out of that riff.
Yeah.
And then when you play it, it's like he really took that as like, I got to find something out of this Woody Woodpecker riff. And he built around it and made this incredible thumb funkin' ripper, around Woody Woodpecker. Is amazing. I mean, I always knew that. I'm Josh. It's funny you didn't get that, but it's amazing how he did that,
Wow.
And it's all the same shit, part of in the same structure, And
I loved, when I was a kid, I loved that thing, that Woody Woodpecker laugh. I just can't believe I didn't put it together. But I wanted to play that part at the beginning where they screw it up because it sounds like, and you pointed this last week, it sounds like those guys were tracking those things together. So essentially recording it live in the studio, Les and Jay, more or less in one take. Does that sound right to you, Soya?
I mean, it sounds to me like he rolled the tape and they flubbed the beginning and Les was like, "What the fuck was that? Do it again." And they did it again and nailed it, I think in the end, Jay goes, "Fuck." Yeah,
he does.
And he goes, "Fuck." And Les says, wasn't that bad, man. And that was the take, I mean, I wasn't there for all that. I barely talked to Les about it. I mean, I love just hearing every moment of it. I wish I knew more. I wish I was sitting in the room for that one.
It does feel like there's very few overdubs that they just went for it. The bass and the drums at the same time, just jamming it out, and then
just hit record. And this song is the song where the first thing that Les does is the cue.
Yes,
because Jay probably was uncertain where he was or remembering how he played it if he played it. Some of these sausage songs he didn't play. In the old days, it was Curveball or
Peter,
yeah. So I think Les came up with that to give Jay the signal, like, okay, dude, 4 more. All right, now you can hear it after the solo when he does those bass licks, Kello, that you play so well, Yeah. It's like and he goes there's that one in the end. If you get to that point, Josh, if you play it, that's where that came from, man. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's pretty much the first time we ever hear it. There was that mini one in Prelude, but that's a full blown call down, or rundown, whatever you want to call it. It just strikes me that they had the confidence to put a mistake on the record and then leave that stuff on where Jay says, fuck, and Les says, it's not that bad. So I love that they leave that on there. It gives it a looser feel. It just makes it feel more natural as opposed to something
Dude,
super
as a
cool.
fan of Jay Lane, any of us know, like, what the hell is Jay talking about? He just kicked the shit out of that, like better than anybody could ever play that song. And he's all, fuck, man, I fucked it up. And it's like, Les, like, yeah, dude, it's cool. And it's ripping.
Yes, absolutely.
I think it's like, haha, Jay, shut up, you rip.
One of the things I want to point to is the verses. Now, KO, you showed what's going on with the verses with the bass. And it's, of course, in lockstep with what Jay's doing with his right foot. And to me, I just want to play a portion of it, because to me, the drums are really hypnotic in this segment and during the verses. It kind of lulls me a little bit here. So I know Jay is doing throwing some variations in there, but it's that ga-do-do-gak, do-do-do-gak, do-do-gak, do-do-do-gak. I don't know. It's a little bit hypnotic given that pattern, but and I know
what's playing the same thing that the thumb is doing.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so cool how those are together.
Let's go back to the surgical connection.
The other thing too is Todd's doing vocals as well, and that's different, for a Les Claypool centric release to have somebody else on vocals, especially at this point. And I know he did a lot of vocals in those Primus days too, so it's really cool that his microphone was turned up.
Todd's vocals were just as elusive as Lur is.
Yeah,
he would step on the mic and you didn't even know he was saying anything. He was almost more mousy than Lur is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, totally.
And that's so funny because, of course, in the same year, 1994, we get the Porch record and Todd's doing the vocals. And, you can't really hide when you're the only guy doing the vocals in your band. So he, had the confidence to do it on the Porch record and Porch Records, plural. So,
dude, he was the lead singer. It was hilarious. Yeah. I chuckled more than anybody. And Todd knew it when I was watching him sing, because he knew that I saw him be the mousy. I just have to hide behind my guitar and, hey, riddles are bound. He would do that kind of bullshit. And all of a sudden, he's like the singer in Porch, and I would just like point at him and go, "Dude, you're funny."
This is why KO's band is instrumental. By the way, he doesn't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Singing sucks if you don't like singing.
KO, I want to play you a part here. This is the lead up to the guitar solo, and I want your opinion on it because I don't know. Todd is just so unique, and he just does something right at the start of his solo that cracks me up, because KO, you're a fantastic bass player and you can really lay down a groove for somebody else, and this groove leading into the solo,
I was just about to ask you to cue that part, Josh.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's gorgeous. He's setting the table. He's putting it down, going, okay, here comes the guitar solo. Yeah, man. Oh, geez, you got lightning fingers. Are you kidding me? If you want to see KO's fingers, you need to go to patreon.com/Primus Tracks and get in at the $5 level so you can see this video. It's insanity. So he lays down this beautiful groove, and, as a musician, KO, I'm sure you're just thinking, oh yeah, something great is coming. And then I just love the way Todd steps on his guitar here at the very beginning with this beautiful groove having been set out for him. That part cracks me up every single time, because it's like, I know Todd came in later, and so he was counting himself in and doing this after the fact, but it almost sounds to me like, oh shit, it's my turn, and he's just getting that thing turned on and ready to go. But I also know that's Todd Huth. He does that sort of thing. I'm curious what you're hearing there, KO.
If we go by the fact that they could be tracking this live, drums and bass.
Yeah.
They were tracked live for sure.
If they were doing that, then what we're hearing is Les is kind of buying time to create the moment for the solo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that doesn't seem like it seems that it is improvised,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, because the structure doesn't follow anything.
Dude, I mean, it falls under Les's regiment of I'm going to stretch this out. Jay doesn't know where we are or what's going on. And that's when he gets to the point after 8 bars, he goes, and he looks at Jay, and Jay goes, okay, now we go. And he stops ripping, you know?
So based on that, then it's obvious then when you're trying to lay down a guitar, when you have that rhythm set up that way, he probably said, you know what, I'll lay out this dissonant chord and then I'll kind of jump in, right? While I get the flow of what's going on.
Okay.
Right? And it works because in reality, that's the magic of how these guys do their music, you know? They don't follow a specific formula or anything. And it, in the end, it does make sense. And if you listen, most of what Les does is not perfect, right? Nothing's on grid, right? I mean, you can hear that from time to time. You have thumbs that don't align with the kick because it's the moment they're capturing. It's not perfection. It's the moment.
Totally.
And that's the magic of this. Yeah.
But Les Claypool's genius, he even has said in interviews and will say to anybody, I'm not perfect and I don't care to be perfect. I don't want to be John Patitucci or, you know, whatever, these perfect bass dudes that say it's exactly this. And he's like, man, I just jam some shit, man. I don't know. Fuck. People say it's cool, but man, you're all sloppy on the way you're getting around it. You know, he's like, I know. Too fucking bad. That's how I played, motherfucker. You know?
And on the same time that I heard him say the other quote that I just mentioned, he also said that, you know, and I think that up to this date, he is downplaying his impact on this great instrument. You know?
Yeah.
Because we don't follow Les because of perfection. We follow him because he is very creative. He doesn't follow any rules. He creates.
Right on. In the 80s, when we saw this dude come out, it was like nothing you'd ever seen. Obviously, being a punker and a metalhead, we didn't hear Jaco Pastorius and Stanley Clarke, and we didn't know about that shit, you know? And when this dude came out and did this stuff, you know, on the level of like Riddles Are Abound Tonight bass lick, like we had heard nothing like that. And you can't find a Stanley Clarke song that sounds like it. It's influenced by it.
Yeah.
Stanley Clarke never played a song that sounds like it's like, holy shit, man, this is unique as a motherfucker, you know?
Yes.
And Les was a punker, man. He was just a local fucking dude. And he was not about trying to be on the cover of Bass Player magazine as the most ripping new perfect bass player. He's like, this is just, I don't give a fuck about any of that stuff, you know? I just want to play my shit, you know? And people enjoy it. That's all it really still is about, you know?
I just want to mention something about the guitar part. I don't know if this is accurate, but what is really interesting for me is that Todd is doing like this kind of slide, which I assume has distortion, but then he goes straight into this very melodic part to fill the rest of the space. And he goes back and forth between that, and it's really fascinating.
Yeah, that going from that dirty, distorted slide and hitting those high notes back to a clean to give that more melodic flavoring over that main riff. He's the only person in...
How do you come up with that? It's incredible.
Yes, you give 1 million guitar players 1 million years, nobody else will come up with that. It is beyond. It's so great. So, and that's part of, you know, we talk about the genius of Les. This is the genius of Todd, just being able to speak the language and fit it right in there and make something that sounds natural, you know? A lot of things, if you took that guitar away and somebody else made a guitar part, it might feel like it fits, but this just feels like it was made for it. And it's,
dude, you have to also understand that as quirky and kooky and genius as Les is and was as a bass player in the beginning, that he got with Todd Huth was doing equally as kooky and weird. And how the fuck do those two things fit together? Yet they do, you know?
Yeah.
Any normal guitar player would never have come up with what Todd came up with.
Right.
You know, the best example is the Sausage demo tape when you really got a hold on like Pudding Time and Harold of the Rocks, where he's doing just this crazy, like, how do you figure out biddly-boop, biddly-boop, biddly-boo, biddly-boop, biddly-boo? You're like, what the fuck? How did I think of that? How did that even come out of his brain to go across that bass lick that Les is doing? So those two combined was incredible, you know?
Right.
And this record is Todd finally getting to do those old guitar parts against Les's stuff, which is just phenomenal, you know? That it all fits somehow. It's amazing.
Yeah. And it's so funny to watch Todd play live in the sense that he's got a serious face on and he's concentrating, but he's playing the wildest shit. You'd think he was, hanging upside down from his toes with his hair on fire and such, but he's just a guy playing guitar, you know?
On acid with monkeys in the cage with him or something.
Exactly, yeah. Any other thoughts on the track itself? We do have some live cuts and a couple other things to talk about.
The fact that it kept reappearing with so many different configurations of Les Claypool projects, I think it's a testament to how much the track lent itself to improvisation and jamming on stage. Look for performances of Riddles Are Abound Tonight through Les Claypool live history, and you will not find two identical performances, not even from one night to the next, even if the song was performed consecutively on the set list. He just went wild with improvisations on this one. It makes for really interesting listens. Sausage kind of stuck to the album version, but if it's a Les Claypool side project, you never know where the track is going when they perform it live.
Yeah. So, Kello, I have a feeling you've heard some of these recordings, maybe Frog Brigade or whoever, where they're taking this tune and stretching it out. And I'll point to the one that's on the Live Frog set 1. I really enjoyed the stretching out of it, where everybody gets a solo and they do some stop-start stuff in the middle. I really liked that because it had some structure. It didn't just feel like, now you solo, now you solo, now you solo, now you solo. It had a little more structure than that, even though there were a lot of solos. I mean, for you, stretching out this kind of tune, it's funny because you said you didn't want to do wrong by this tune. So I imagine stretching it out and jamming on it must be, I don't know. How's that feel for you? I mean, Les, it's his song. He can do whatever, but for you.
I think I appreciated what they did to the song.
Yeah.
Because in the end, it was a different scenario. It was, I remember getting that Live Frog CD, putting it on and just enjoying the ride. It was like a different view of the same songs, because they were not trying to just replicate what they had. Les was actually, and probably Tim will have more insight on this, but I'm pretty sure that what Les wanted to do with those songs was actually leverage the different voices and instruments and sounds that he had on that band,
Yeah.
And that's what they did.
I think you're correct. I mean, Primus, for the most part, stuck to the books on all their songs. And it wasn't until the original hiatus, when Frog Brigade came out, that Les started attempting to stretch out his tunes, and finding his voice in the jam vehicle, Frankie. Like learning that he could take his compositions and not just stick to the blueprint, stretch it out, I'm eager to listen to that frog set shit. I never even listened to it. I have them on CD. They might not even be unwrapped.
Oh, wow.
But
I was there. I don't know. It's like, I got them. It's like, okay, whatever. I don't know.
So Les started to jam live. Was that thanks to Trey's influence while working on the Oysterhead stuff?
It started before that, because he was
since Antipop.
When he got to that point when Primus ended after the Antipop thing, and they all went their separate ways, he had to inflect on what am I going to do now? I'm this dude, but I want to do my own thing without Tim and Lur, without any Primus members. What am I going to do? And Frog Brigade was the first thing that came out, and he brought Todd in and he brought Jay in, which is ironic, but it wasn't Primus. They weren't playing Primus tunes in the beginning at all, And by the time they got into it, he was starting to filter in some of these sausage songs because it was Todd and Jay, were with it. I'm speculating, you guys. Come on.
I think there are traces of jamming since Antipop,
Right.
because
So-
they would stretch Groundhog's Day a little bit. I mean, not to the extent of the hallucinogenetics or for much recordings, but they did start improvising a little bit here and there with some songs.
That was after all of this, when Primus got back together and started doing Primus again. Then Les was like, we're going to break it down. And we're going to do Herald of the Rocks. It's going to be 15 minutes long. That
he did,
never happened before.
Before he got together with Primus, he did stretch out Primus numbers with Frog Brigade, because Frog Brigade did include in the repertoire songs like Spaghetti Western, Herald of the Rocks, Wyoming's Big Brown Beaver, Jerry Was a Race Car Driver. So he did get a sense of how to jam on those songs prior to doing them with Primus. But of course, the Frog Brigade versions of those songs are radically different to Primus.
Yeah.
Right. You're saying exactly what I'm saying, Frankie. I'm saying he eventually started bringing Primus into the Frog Brigade because he learned how to stretch out. Whereas before Frog Brigade, he was not stretching anything out. It was verbatim record versions of Primus songs, And
it was such a good idea. It was a safe idea to take tunes he already had in his head, or that he could easily relearn.
I mean, you got to figure when you're in a band that's playing on major label records with videos and you're selling millions of records, you don't want to come out and jam shit out. You're not the Grateful Dead, yet. So they never really got away from the arrangements, Primus, until after it ended and after Antipop, and all of a sudden Les figured out, I just want to go do something different. And he got into the jam thing and hooked up with Trey. And then we did the Oysterhead thing. And by then he had already been bringing it back into Primus or playing Primus songs with his bands. And when Primus got back together, then he was doing the jam outs and the jam vehicles with Primus, and those guys just had to do it,
I want to throw in a couple of Primates takes. If you'd like to have your take thrown out here on the podcast, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/Primus Tracks. Sign up at, I don't even know what level, and I don't even know my own service. Sorry, Frankie. Just sign up and find those comment threads and comment on them, and I'll pick some for each episode. Our pal Anthony Del Prete, he got to see Sausage open for Helmet and Rollins Band in New York City back in '94. He said they opened the set with Riddles Are Abound Tonight, and he said the place came unglued. It's a perfect bouncy mosh type song. Todd's screaming guitar textures during the verses are killer. And then he even quotes that little sing song part where there's the music stops and they hut. Oh, and which I totally forgot to mention, which I think that was a new wrinkle too, to have this singing part. I mean, they're actually carrying a tune there. Mike Chillian, our pal Mike, and he says, I was blown away by the Riddles music video back in the 90s when I first saw it on Beavis and Butthead as a kid. Well, he obviously didn't have my dad. He had a more tolerant dad. So he said all throughout high school, I'd be scanning MTV waiting for the chance to see it get played again, and it never did. And he says he didn't get to see it again until the aforementioned 5 Gallons of Diesel came out. So yeah, that one deserved a lot of airplay. It's bizarre and kind of timeless, actually. It doesn't scream 90s to me. It's just weird in a great way. So thank you, Mike. Thank you, Anthony. So yeah, we're going to play some live cuts, and they're all jam vehicles. Are you ready?
Let me open another beer. Hold on. All right.
First one is a Purple Onion bonus track. It's Frog Brigade playing at the 930 Club.
Yes. I want to specify that I love the Japanese tradition of including bonus tracks in the Japanese pressings of albums. So in my fantasy world, this is a bonus track if there ever were a Japanese version of Purple Onion. Yes. So this is a really interesting alternative to the more common version from the Live Frogs CD. This is, as you mentioned, 930 Washington Club. I watched Delirium there. Incredible place.
Before you play, can you please tell what the band lineup is?
This one consists of Les Claypool, Jay Lane, Jeff Chimenti. We also have Todd Huth. We got Enor too.
Okay, and Enor. Okay, so this is the original Frog Brigade.
There we go. Dude, Jay riding that cymbal, man, that was killer right there at the end. I really love that. So what I love about that Frog Brigade version is that it just sounds so body with that slide up. There's a lot more body to that body slide. And unfortunately, it's kind of hard to hear what Todd's doing. I mean, he's playing the lick there, the clean part, but he's kind of buried. But I do love how raucous it sounds, the Frog Brigade version.
There's too many people on the stage, I think is what's going on. Oops, did I just say that?
I guess you could call it groovier.
Groovier?
Yeah. Good point.
It bounces a little bit.
And I think Jeff's contributing to that with that keyboard part. What's this bass slot here? Frankie, I guess I should just
that is amazing. You gotta play that.
Okay. Stretching it out. Totally different tune now.
On the fretless.
Yeah. Sounds like it. That sounds pretty cool. Jay holding it down too. I like that fat sound. What's he doing there, KO? What's
not
the
a
hell is
fretless.
that?
He's basically adding the synth effect.
Okay.
It's either the Access Virus synth or the Korg.
Boston, the Roxy 2006. Oh, I don't even know who.
Fancy band.
Oh, this is fancy. So
yeah, we got Paul Baldi, Gabi Lala, Mike Dillon, Skerrick.
All right. Let's see what these guys do with this. Well, the crowd is raucous there. They're happy to see him. I'm going to go to what Frankie labeled awesome drums and bass.
Wow, that part is mind-blowing.
I don't know, just clean up after yourself. Oh yeah, I love this. Oh, nice, Paulo. Mikey. Just letting them do it with that one little part. KO, you already figured it out.
Yes.
Well, they did that. They would do that stop start, and that's on the Live Frog set 1 too. So that carried over. It's very different, I think, to experience it in that Frog Brigade Fancy Band context. My mind is almost blown. Not totally yet, but we'll get there. We'll do, let's do Santa Cruz. Which one's this? This says 2000 also, so is this our original lineup?
It's another Frog Brigade version, yes.
Awesome.
And it's a soundboard.
And I think we might even play some things that we don't even recognize, but that's sort of the glory of the Frog Brigade.
I hear Todd. Jay Lane rules. I'll just say that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, To me, all the other shit is fluff around what's ripping. Keyboards and honking, Skerrick and other guitar dude. This is not necessary.
You just want your sausage.
Yeah.
This was a more straightforward version.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's older. It's when Jay and Todd were there, so.
Oh, okay. So the Paulo one was a bit different for you.
Paulo ripped it, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen them do that with Paulo, actually, now that I heard that.
Yeah.
With that dun-dun, cat, dun-dun, cat, cat. I've seen that live a couple times.
Sounds good to me. Let's listen to a little bit of the Rat Brigade taking on this one as well. Oh my goodness, the Rat Brigade.
What's the lineup on this one?
So it has to be Les and Jay and a bunch of Rat Dog dudes. Rip it.
Going fast.
I like the tempo.
Jay.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, Frankie, that was a good one. That was pretty rad.
Ripping it.
That KO, I was going to ask you about that. There you go, that little strum. He worked that in there. Now, was he? Yeah, is he cheating on that one, KO? Just playing the G as opposed to the what was it, a G sharp like you showed us earlier?
I don't know.
Okay.
Is he doing the hard version or the cheater version
Yeah.
on that one?
I love this track. I think as far as the studio version goes, it's, it starts with a mistake. It ends with Jay cussing because he thinks it's a bad take. It's got Todd doing Todd things on the solo, which most people would think is just noise. But to me, it's, I don't know. It's the music of angels.
Me too. Oh, wait, I can't say that. I do as well.
KO, thanks so much for showing us this track. I appreciate it.
Thank you, KO.
Dude,
Having it.
ripping.
That was great. I can say this. Riddles are abound tonight. I've solved you. You've been tracked. Next time, Frankie, raise a glass.
Here's to the man.
But I know this episode is not over yet.
God, no, it's not. We have a test straight from Guadalajara, Mexico. Let's hear El Gato de Tome.
Ooh.
Good fucking Lord. You guys have brought two bass players in a row that nailed it. Dude, there's two dudes on the champion pedestal right now. Holy moly, that was rad, dude. You got it.
Thank you.
KO,
It's amazing that
congratulations.
there's been 30 years of dudes that fake it or can't figure it out, and there's been two in a row now in 1 week that nailed it. Wow. That was amazing, dude. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are at Primus Tracks on Instagram and Twitter. KO is at KOGC on Instagram. You can also find him at KOGC on YouTube, I believe. You're one of the most viewed people on YouTube as far as playing the bass. It's pretty freaking incredible. Soya, I know you don't pay too much attention to it, but this guy got a feature in guitar player or bass player or one of them.
He deserves it. Fucking ripper, man. Holy shit. I am blown away. Very nice to meet you and be on a podcast with you, man.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, at KOGC is going to get a follow from at Tim Soya. If you want to follow from at Tim Soya, good luck. But we'll
right.
give you a follow at Primus Tracks. Later days.
Willie Mays.
There it is.
How did you not put that together, Josh, you dork? It's like the first thing that came to my mind the first time I